Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Elite City Podcast. We celebrated episode 100 last week, so here we are back to our normal format, I guess you want to call it. We have Janine and Rick with us tonight. So, how's everybody doing?
Fantastic.
Good.
Nice.
I'm good.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well, good night, everyone.
That's all. Did everybody eat too much food at Easter? That's question number one.
I had a lot of cookies and cakes and stuff. It was nice.
Oh, I hate you so much.
My niece learned how to bake, so she bakes all
Sick.
kinds of stuff, and I just eat it. It's great.
That sounds awesome.
I've been
She's
trying
going
to eat healthy.
She's going to baking camp this summer. I'm so excited.
Ooh, I've been trying to
That
eat healthy
also
since
sounds awesome.
the beginning of February, and it's been really hard. So I didn't have any Easter candy, anything like that. I did have sweet and sour ribs though in a crock pot, and they were fantastic. So
sounds good.
Amazing.
I ate all the sweets. I was with Rick. I ate all the sweets. Well, I wasn't with Rick physically. I was just eating all the sweets on Easter night.
Together in spirit, eating.
In spirit.
I don't think Rick would share, honestly.
Oh, I wasn't sharing either. I ate half a cheesecake on Easter night, on purpose. Yeah, I cut it directly in half. I was like, I'm just.
Now, is it
it wasn't like you just kept eating a little bit and then realized you ate half a cheesecake? No, you tried to eat half a cheesecake.
Yep.
No, was it like a real New York style cheesecake, or was it like a Jell-O no bake?
My mom made it, so
graham cracker
from scratch. Yeah, graham cracker crust from scratch.
Nice. That's good.
Yep. Oh, it was amazing.
Because a real cheesecake is probably much bigger than like a Jell-O no bake cheesecake.
Oh yeah, it was super thick and very filling.
Yeah, heavy.
I crushed it.
Lots of eggs, lots of cream cheese.
Oh, okay. Anyways, well, for the first time, since somebody's contract hasn't run out, AEW got rid of some people, unfortunately. So how does everyone feel about that? Does it apparently people on the other side of the fence that WWE thinks that we should be crying and be sending these people money
because they've never released anybody before, and they decided to do it on April 1st. That's terrible timing. Terrible timing. Because you get a call from the head office and they're like, "Oh, you've been released." You're like, "AEW doesn't release people." Great joke, guys. No,
April
really.
Fools.
We actually released.
Right.
It's weird more than
anything.
Waited a day. For me, seeing Dalton Castle without the boys is the weirdest. That's been his gimmick for so long, and now there's no boys.
Yes.
That was the one that was odd to me because the rest of them, I don't mean to be insulting towards anybody, but the rest of them weren't on TV very often. So it was slightly understandable.
Right.
But that one was odd.
There is a rumor, and this is 100% internet rumor. I have nothing to back it up either. I read it on several different internet sites. Apparently, the boys missed 2 Ring of Honor tapings back to back. I guess without calling, just no-showed them. That's why they got fired. But again, that's hearsay. So I take that with a grain of salt. But if that's true, that makes sense for them because they were literally in the middle of a storyline on Ring of Honor TV. And the other one I feel bad for, I feel bad for everybody, but Anthony Henry, really feel bad for him. He just got injured. I hope.
Yeah, he's in a tag team that was doing pretty well.
Yeah,
that was a little surprising to get rid of half of a tag team.
Yeah, and that he's injured. AEW has not done that before either. I don't even know if he got surgery yet. He's that newly injured.
Right.
So, AEW has a good track record of people get hurt that Tony Khan takes care of it and the company takes care of it. I just hope they do that for him. Anthony Henry wasn't making, he was probably making bottom tier money. No disrespect to Anthony Henry, but he wasn't making the same as MJF, let's say. So
right.
I don't even know if
Mercedes contract.
Yeah. Did he even have insurance? So let's just hope he's going to be taken care of in that aspect.
See, that's the thing that I wish AEW was better on, and not attacking AEW because everybody does this, but wrestlers should have insurance.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, see here. Okay, again, this is a weird American thing. You might not be able to insure somebody that's not a full-time employee.
Correct.
So unless you have a full-time contract with them,
if they're independent contractors,
can't you give them like a discounted insurance plan that your company they can buy into it, but it costs like $10.
It's gonna be a lot more than $10.
It's gonna be a lot more than it would be like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I mean,
the thing is, couldn't AEW subsidize it so that they were only paying $10?
I mean, I know.
Oh, that could possibly. I don't know.
Here in America, it seems like if you're a 1099 employee, you're going to pay way, way, way more for your health insurance because you are your business. Whereas, like someone like me who works for a company and I have wages and I'm salaried and I'm an employee of a company, the company pays into that as well. Like that's part of your benefits. Whereas
could AEW buy like a bulk plan, be like go to insurance company and say we're insuring 500 people and just pay
why not
the majority of the costs?
But also like when you think about it too, wrestlers, they're going to need more medical attention than say someone who sits at a desk job. Right. So it's going to be more expensive coverage.
Yes.
And they're obviously covered. Like the company has insurance if you're in the ring,
right?
But if like I don't know how far that goes. Like if you jump off like the balcony, the insurance company could say, "Well, that wasn't the ring." It was the arena. I guess.
You dislocated your shoulder out off the, on the mat out in front of the announcing table.
Yeah. You were in the
like in other sports, they have stuff written into their contracts, right? Like I forget who it was.
Yes.
Some NHL player got injured, like jet skiing over in the summer, and they were like, "Well, that's not included because it's written into your contract that you can't do dangerous activities, and that counts as a dangerous activity." I don't know the ins and outs of insurance, but I feel like there should be a way. Again, I have no idea.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I feel like there should be a way that they could like buy into a plan where AEW covers like 80% of the cost, and the wrestler has to pay something.
Some sort of benefit system,
to give them something.
Agreed.
And it's not just an AEW thing, because I know every company does this, but that doesn't necessarily make it right. Just every company does it.
Now, Rick, I don't know if you would know the answer to this. Again, it's an insurance question. Someone like Kenny Omega, him working here. Does your Canadian, and this is me being ignorant, I don't know. Does your insurance work in our country? Because I mean, Christ, sometimes our insurance doesn't work here.
You have to live. You have to live here like a certain number of months a year. I don't know what it is exactly. I think it's like 9 months a year or something.
If you were vacationing here, you'd have to pay for your medical bills just because shit happens.
Yeah, if basically. You can't, if I went to the US, I would buy insurance.
Wow.
Because
we're dangerous and untrustworthy.
Because our country's so ass. Well, I'm serious. Like I was asking because sometimes our insurance doesn't work here.
And basically what the insurance generally does is, from people I know who gotten to the States and got injured, is like if you have to go to a hospital in the United States because you can't get them come back, they'll pay it. But otherwise they try to like, oh, your arm is broken. Well, like, oh, you can fly back to Canada. We'll pay for that. And then Canada will do the healthcare.
Oh my God.
So they'd rather put you on a plane. That's sick.
That's so great.
Wow. America. Moving on before
not to go into a whole healthcare debate.
Yeah, Jesus. But anyways, all those.
I wonder what spurred these releases though, because they've never released anybody before without cause. Like they've released, I forget who, someone at the beginning of very beginning of AEW got released. I forget who it was.
It was they did something,
but they did something.
Awful.
I forget what it was.
It was something a word we can't say.
Yeah, and then like the only other people who've gotten released were like their contracts ran out, or they asked for their release, or they choked out Jungle Boy backstage.
Yeah, real glass.
I wonder what spurred them to release a bunch of people at once. Like why? Why now?
Again, the internet rumor, who I've read multiple places, it's never been confirmed, but multiple internet sleuths have pointed out that Tony Khan just hired a COO, I believe. That could be the wrong 3 letters to run.
I think that's what it is. I think I read that too.
To run Ring of Honor. and apparently they're a stickler for money, and like these, I think I sent it to you. These contracts equaled a little over $1 million, like freed up over a little over $1 million. So, I mean, for Ring of Honor, like that's probably like a lot of their budget.
Yeah, I understand that because like Ring of Honor doesn't. I mean, they have the pay service, but I don't think that many people subscribe to it. I think once I saw something like it's like tens of thousands of people. Like it's not a lot of people.
Yeah,
so Ring of Honor isn't really profitable.
It's like Twitter Blue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except it's less shameful if you subscribe to it.
True. And they just started giving the pay-per-views, or not including the pay-per-views on Honor Club, which I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really good.
But I'm gonna have to look on my cable. It hasn't been advertised like how you know how your cable back in the day would, on your like guide channel, it would say like, hey, upcoming fights or boxing or something. Ring of Honor hasn't been advertised on that.
You're only talking to the old people now. Every young person is like,
I know.
Cable channel? What are you talking about?
Oh, like their parents didn't have cable when they were growing up. Come on. y'all act like I'm the only person.
I think the ROH stuff is only on Honor Club now. I don't think it's on regular pay-per-view.
Well, yeah, but this is the first one.
Because it's not on Fight or anything. Like you can't buy it. You have
okay.
Honor Club.
Okay, because it was 50-50 here in the United States, I think, for the last one, because it was still, you were able to get it on pay-per-view or Honor Club. Because I was like, why would you order it? Why wouldn't you just subscribe to Honor Club and then cancel?
Yeah.
It's $10. But that's probably why they did that, because the buy rate probably went through the roof, and they probably had like a 30% drop off in subscribers. Anyways.
Well, speaking of ROH, I wanted to talk about ROH. I don't watch ROH.
You should.
It's weird that I wanted to bring it up, but this thing with the releases made me think, like, what is ROH? Is it a developmental league? Is it a separate company? Is it a third brand? Is it just another show? What, in your eyes, what is ROH?
In my honest opinion, ROH to me is, I explained it to you this way. It is the MCU. It is for the mega uber nerd wrestling fan of AEW. That is going to be the, like, you don't have to watch every break off mini series and spin-off series of this movie and that. You can still watch the overarching thing and kind of get the gist of what's going on, but the real nerds are going to sit down and watch everything. And I think that's what Ring of Honor is. Ring of Honor is going to be like the truly nerdy, like pure wrestling. Like there's pure wrestling title. It's going to be a lot of that, like very indie / Japan wrestling on a more boring level, if that makes any sense.
Wow, you're really hyping up ROH here. Boring nerds watch it.
Well, because that's what it is. It's going to be like
nerds. That's what it is. I'm just saying, it's a really boring show that nerds.
And it's just perfect for you, Rick.
It's going to be a bunch of chain wrestling. I mean, look who's come out of there: Danielson, Samoa Joe. Like those guys all went on to learn how to be TV wrestlers, but their roots are like chain wrestling. That's kind of what, that is what Ring of Honor is. There's other than Dalton Castle, I was just gonna say there's not that much sports entertaining. Dalton will always sports entertain.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, that's what it is. It's just the uber nerd, the little thank you to the, like you said, the tens of thousands that, hey, this is for you. This is your special little thing.
So do you think it should have its own roster, or should it have, like, right now it has a pretty significant, but the crossover is odd for me because, like we've talked about before, why does Athena never cross over? And like Ethan Page did at one show, but it was in Hamilton, so like that makes sense. But like he's 99% of the time been in only in ROH. But then someone like Eddie Kingston is just everywhere.
I honestly think that has just a lot to do with them being TV popular. Like you can't be like, oh, Eddie's Ring of Honor champion, but so he's only going to be on Ring of Honor, even though everybody wants to see him every week. Again,
yeah.
No offense.
In my eyes, then don't make him ROH champion. Give it to someone who's.
And ROH. I think that is the plan in the long run. But like to get it off the ground, to get that initial tens of thousands watching, they kind of spruced it up a little bit. I don't want to say it'll be developmental because like that's kind of a slap in the face to the indie wrestlers that they would be hiring. Like I don't feel that they would hire like people that are super green, but it's like a bead brand, we'll say, I guess.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So, I think they're even confused about it though, because they've done things like making Jericho ROH champion, or making the Elite the 6-man champion, and then they were never actually on ROH. Like they've done weird things like that. Like you think, oh, they're doing this because they're going to try to get more people to watch ROH, or like the Acclaimed, or sorry, the Bullet Club Gold.
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, they're doing that to get more people to watch ROH, and then those people are never actually on ROH.
And see, that's what, like, it makes no sense to me, because it tapes with Collision, who Bullet Club basically lived on Collision for ages. Like, they're in the building, just
like it's super easy to just put them in ROH. Yeah.
But then again, I also see, given, you know, the local guy, the rub, or you know, some rookie. I think you're right on them being confused on what it is, but I see more of a direction now, I should say.
Yeah, I hope that's the case.
Same.
Because like I do think, and I don't even blame him, I do think Tony Khan bought it just because it was available.
100%.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him for that, because why wouldn't you?
And he didn't want it to go to the wayside. Like it would have just ended on that network and
then been included in like video packages or something. Like,
yeah. And if you wanted to watch it, it would have been there, but it would have never been advertised that it was even part of it. Or
yeah, they would have used it for like if they had a, you know, Seth Rollins retrospective, they could
yeah, exactly,
part of that. Yeah, it's, I don't know, I find it good that they own it, but I wish it was, I don't know, it's weird to me. I think Gina's talked about this too. I don't know if she talked about it on the show or just when we were chatting. They have the ROH champs lose on AEW a lot. Like the Kingdom loses all the time, but they're tag champs. Like they shouldn't be losing that much.
Yeah.
And I get the point that like ROH, like AEW is better than ROH.
Right.
I get that.
It's that double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you like, I mean, I watch Ring of Honor every week. If you watch Ring of Honor every week and you see Taven and Bennett getting their butts handed to them again and again and again, and then they come on Ring of Honor like, oh, we're going to destroy everybody. And then they do. It's like, I get that it's fake, but come on.
Yeah, then it kind of makes ROH, oh, like these guys must suck then if they if these guys get beat every week in AEW and then they go and dominate ROH, like what does that mean for ROH?
Right. Like, again, no offense, it would be like if Sidney Crosby played in the AHL.
Yeah.
Like,
speaking of which, the Penguins just scored. It's 4-1.
Sick. Biddy must have had to pee. He was just in the bathroom.
I was just looking at tweets and I saw that they pulled their goalie, and I was like, come on.
Oh yeah, it's almost over. It's 9:30. I'm thinking it's like 7 o'clock.
No, there's 2 minutes, like 3 minutes left. Yeah.
It's basically over now.
Oh,
anyway,
don't
say that.
Don't say that.
It's
Come on,
the Pittsburgh Penguins we're talking about.
Look, if a guy from Toronto can't say it's over when the score is 4-1, when can I say it?
Very true. Very true. Oh, stupid Boston. Anyways.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
ROH.
I was gonna say, where were we? I lost my train of thought.
ROH champs losing all the time. I find it odd.
It is odd. Again, I think this goes back to Tony Khan wants everything to be intertwined and wants no more. Me and you always joke about, he wants no more Cole Carter moments. You know, he'll hire Cole Carter and he'll be part of Ring of Honor, and then when he makes that jump, people, if you watch, you'll know who it is. And I think that's the overall plan eventually.
Yeah, that's another thing that I find. I feel like I'm ragging on Ring of Honor a lot, and I'm not.
No, you're not.
It's fine.
I understand what you're saying. 100%.
It's another thing that confuses me a little. Not confuses me, but like when someone like say Ethan Page, right? I don't watch ROH. I know he's there, but I don't know anything about what he's doing. So like if he's been gone for, I don't know, 6 months or whatever, when he comes back, I know he's Ethan Page. But if like he had a character change or like something happened to him in ROH that like was important, then when he comes back, like I don't know that. I know who he is, and I could look it up, but like I'm not like as emotionally invested in it as if I knew that it was happening, if that makes any sense. Like no, I know who he is. I'm not going to be one of those people who are like, I have no idea. How will I ever find out? Like, no, I have access to the internet, so I can look it up. But like, there's just the emotional connection isn't there. Where like, if you saw whatever struggle someone went through on an AEW show, then when they overcame them, you'd be like, oh yeah, I watched that whole thing happen. It means more.
Right.
So like, if Cole Carter did show back up, like I know that he's been in ROH, but that means very little to me because I don't know what he's been doing.
Well, I was going to say that's you saying that made me think of an idea. You now have, they just announced it's been 1 year of Honor Club. So 1 year of shows, 4 video packages to repackage somebody for AEW. So
right. That would be good. I mean, if they showed like a 2-minute thing.
Yeah. Like, hey, you remember Cole Carter, you remember Griff Garrison, you know, they'll be not debuting, but they have a match next week. Here's what they've been up to. And then, you know, boom.
That would be good.
Yeah, that would be cool. And it would tie everything all together.
And then you wouldn't you wouldn't have to watch ROH.
Right.
But if you did, you'd still get the added benefit of like more than that 2 minutes happened to them.
Right.
Yeah.
The funny thing about ROH that when you watch it, since it's recorded after Dynamite, after Collision, excuse me, always stay because they film the end of the show first before the people go home. So your first match is the main event, and then your second match is the like semi-main. Then that makes sense. I was watching it like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, well, wait a minute, there was just like 7 people in the crowd. Now there's like, it was the Boston right before Big Business. Or it was Big Business, excuse me. And I was like, wait a minute, there was just like 2,000 people, and now there's like 12. Like, what? Did they come back? And I was like, oh my God, they film it backwards. That's genius.
I get it, because you want a bigger crowd. You get but like, it's really hard to make people stick around. Like, you saw the best match, now stick around.
Yeah,
because the match you don't care about it's coming up next.
They did that forever ago in WWE when they had 205 Live. They used to show when they do SmackDown tapings. After SmackDown, everybody would scoot out and they'd be doing 205 tapings, and there's like nobody there. And for me, I was like, oh, people are leaving, I can get closer, right? And then they started doing it before the tapings. Then when I went to the one with John Cena, that he came to town. It was the New Year's Day show. It was pre-taped. It wasn't actually live. And they did 205 Live beforehand, and it was still just as dead. Like, I mean, it just people. Unfortunately, I love 205. I think it was great storytelling up until a certain point, but then it just kind of really went downhill from there, and it just did not keep people. So unfortunately, they've tried it both ways.
This week, didn't they tape Dynamite and Rampage and Collision all on the same day?
I think so.
Yeah.
That would be terrible. I hope they didn't tape ROH too. Like 6 hours.
That'd be a long night.
I bet you they did, because the pay-per-view's tomorrow, so they had to.
Right.
And there's a show there's a show probably on right now.
Well, that's going to be a tired crowd that supposed to watch 6 hours of rest. Like, they're not going to stick around. When I went, it was like they taped ROH for a little bit before Dynamite. I missed part of it because it took a while to get in the building. But by like 10:30 or whatever, no, 11, because they did Rampage after Dynamite. So it was like 11:30 when Rampage was like finally wrapped up. I was like, they better not tape more ROH. I'll be so like, I'm not staying. There's no way.
They did AEW Dark after the first Pittsburgh show, and I was like, it was getting to be like 11:30, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go to work in the morning. Like, come on, guys.
I agree. Like, Tony Khan, like, thank you. Like, it's awesome that you're there, but it also sucks. Like, I don't want to be sitting in an arena seat for 5 hours.
Yeah. That's like a pay-per-view, and that's a lot.
And it's not even like I understand it's a sporting arena, but when you're at a game, like if someone scores, you stand up. If there's some action, like when you're at a wrestling event, you sit there.
Like a concert, yeah.
And there's no actual breaks. Like if you're at a sporting event, like if it's a hockey game, you can leave during intermission. You can get
right. And at PPG at PPG, after just being at a concert and you're upstairs in those teeny tiny seats and you're squished like that for 4 hours, you're like, my legs hurt, my back hurts. Like you just hurt because you're squished in that tiny seat and you sit there. Nobody gets up. Nobody does anything. It's not like a hockey game. Somebody might get up to go get a beer or go take a pee, but that's it. I mean, you sit there the whole time.
And then because there's no breaks, like if you leave, if you want to go to the washroom during a wrestling show, like an AEW show, you have to miss a match.
Right.
Yeah.
You
sports
have to pick
has intermissions.
which match you're going to miss, and you leave. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sports have intermission, but
yeah, that's what was my only gripe with AEW is you're there way too long. Oh,
and it's fun. Like they do a good job.
Oh yeah,
fun. It's just But the order of the tapings is odd because if you're at a pay-per-view, like in case you guys didn't know, I went to Forbidden Door.
Wow, sick.
Well, oh man, who knew?
When you're at that was like 5 hours long, but like the last match was Danielson and Okada, so you're gonna stick around. It's not like you're gonna be like, I'm leaving. But like if the last match is like the first match of an ROH taping between two guys you don't really know, like are you gonna stick around? Probably not.
Right. No. Yeah, like no offense, but if you're like gonna watch Lee Johnson versus Griff Garrison like at 11:45 on a Wednesday evening. Or Saturday night, like no way. Sorry.
And it's deflating because like when I went to Collision, the last match was FTR and CM Punk against Bullet Club Gold, like the last match of Collision. So that was a good match. Like I was excited. And then they're like, now 2 people you've never heard of. And I'm like, oh, like it's just like, and like no offense to those people, but they're not the main event of a show, which you just saw, right? So it seems like such a step. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it better when they were doing ROH at like Universal Studios or wherever they were doing it. That was better.
See, I agree with you, but I also think they wanted them to get experience in front of bigger crowds. You know, like I think a lot
and in like a live arena versus a studio. That's basically a studio.
Yeah, I think a lot of them were like, well, I could wrestle in front of more people than this on an indie date and not have to spend. Like they used to marathon record those. Like those had to be terrible.
Right.
Like they'd be there for like 14 hours. Yeah. You know, and then you could be like, oh, not that putting in a 14-hour day, like most people, you know, that's some people work that in a day. But you know, as far as a wrestler goes, they could work less and make more money.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do with ROH. Like it's not like it's an active problem. It doesn't detract from anything, in my opinion. Like it doesn't hurt AEW in any way. Like it doesn't. But I just feel like I don't know. It's in a weird spot where it's dark matches before and after shows. It's clearly like not their main brand, but then like Eddie Kingston's on it, and it's like I don't know, and it's weird. It's a weird spot for me.
And I understand that, and it's on a track now, but I watch it every week and I can't tell you what track that it's on, but it's on one.
I think for like a year or whatever, they've been hoping it gets a TV slot and then they can make it its own thing. That doesn't happen.
And like, I get Tony Khan doing like the Honor Club thing because the subscriptions are basically paying like for travel, or he's probably not making any money on it. We'll put it that way.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. If it did get a TV deal, then you at least get a budget. Like, you know, Warner can say, hey, here's $10 million. You know, if that $10 million works better at Universal, well, then you go back there. And at least it would give it its own thing. Like you said, like it'll give its own identity, its own, you know, you could tape the shows different. You can, I don't know, but yeah, it would make more sense.
I always thought it would be really cool if they taped it in like really small arenas, like where like ECW used to go, or like Shotgun Saturday Night when it was shot in like tiny, like that would be cool if they like, oh, there's 200 people there, but they're like really into it and it's like super, like a super intense crowd. That would be cool.
That would be. I think me and you talked about it, Rick. What was the place? It's in New York where Raw used to, the
Oh, the
original
Manhattan
Raw.
Center. That would be
The
cool.
Manhattans. Yeah. That would be
Yeah,
so
something
fun
like that.
there.
Like a place like that where like it holds a few hundred people, but
Yeah.
it's like,
And
the
it's
crowd
loud.
would be loud, and
Yeah.
it would be, yeah. I know they don't have the budget for that. I mean, they could have the budget for that, but they don't. I understand why they don't, but.
And I mean, Tony Khan's a billionaire for a reason. You don't write frivolous checks just because it would be cool. I mean, sometimes you do, but not.
You do.
But yeah, not like, oh, this is going to actually.
Like,
Yeah, but like he doesn't do it like, oh, this is going to cost me millions of dollars.
I mean, didn't he pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for the final countdown just because he thought it would be cool to have Danielson? Like Danielson didn't need it. It was just cool.
100%, but that wasn't going to lose him money.
No, that was Tony Khan just being a nerd and being like, yeah, I want this.
Yeah, like that would be cool.
Flexing.
So I'm going to pay. Yeah.
I love that Danielson was like, he's so nice. He was like, I told him not to do it. That was way too much money for that little bit of time. It was like his parents yelling at him. He's like, that just wasn't worth it to me. It was like 30 seconds.
I love that because they must have paid like to air it on TV, and then like there's either no fee or a different fee to air it when you're not on TV anymore. Because once the show ended, they played it like 3 more times, and Danielson just like walked around, just like.
Well, that's like Best Friends. They have Jane as their opening song, and that's another one that's like, you know, obviously copyright, yada 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 stuff with that, but they still play that every time on TV, which is very cool because
it is cool. Like I like that he does it. It does add something to the shows.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one thing about AEW that I like. They don't force you to lose your identity just because. Like WWE, like if they're not controlling it, you're not allowed to have it.
Right.
And
which I feel like CFO has done some good work with music, but also there's a lot of stuff that like you can tell they blatantly ripped off of other songs.
It's not CFO anymore.
It's not CFO anymore? Okay.
No, it's Stay Lab.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The music production for WWE.
Oh.
It's somebody else now when they're really bad.
Right. And then, but yeah, it is bad now, I think.
It's not Jim Johnston anymore?
No, they got rid of him a long time ago.
Why? See, it makes no sense. The person that was awesome. Let's fire them.
And apparently, this is just internet rumors, but apparently him and Triple H don't get along.
Oh, that's right, because he said he didn't like Motorhead or whatever.
No, yeah, he said the version of the game Motorhead did was bad, and he reworked it, and he was correct because the version that he did was much better.
The version that Motorhead did live for Triple H is so bad. Like you can tell Lemmy just did not give a shit.
He forgot. He didn't know the words.
Right. I mean, Lemmy was like, he probably was like, screw this billionaire mega shit. Like he did not care. Lemmy did not care. Lemmy was.
You can tell at one point he's just coming up with words that rime with game. Because he was just like, it's about the fame. Game.
And I love Motorhead, but it's just like that. Oh, that company is everything that Motorhead is not about.
True.
You know? And that's why I think Lemmy was like, F this, and just like mailed it in.
So apparently Triple H, the song sucked that they recorded for Triple H, and Jim Johnston reworked it, and Triple H was mad that he reworked it. But like, I'm sure he was right to do that.
Right, because Motorhead has a lot of great songs. That is not one of them.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I mean, they have a lot of great songs, but that is mailing it in for Motorhead.
Yeah, for sure. That's like, we want our check. How long is this going to take?
Right.
So I can go spend it on Coke and booze.
Sick.
What were we talking about? Oh, Tony Khan. Spending money. Yeah, it is cool that he spends money on stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. Now, we gave ourselves homework. We were supposed to come up with a topic. Did you guys do that?
Yep.
Okay, who's going to go first?
I had to go first. No, I had to go first last week. Somebody else go first.
Because I came up with the idea. So it's
okay. Yeah, I'll go. All right. This is just your general opinions. You don't have to get super specific if you don't want to, but you can if you want to also. In your opinion, what is the biggest difference between an indie wrestler and a TV wrestler? Take it as far as you want.
I would think, from what I've seen, based on a lot of like newbies and people that have been in the indies for a long time, there's something about people like most of the TV wrestlers that is a little more polished, whether it's their presentation or like their move sets are a little tighter. There's just little things that are noticeable when you go and you watch an indie show and you have a good time regardless, and you think, yeah, these guys are great and they have all this potential, but then like you go watch like Orange Cassidy fling around, somebody. And I mean, you're like, wow, like that's, you know what I mean? It's almost like somebody has a little more polish on TV. It's just something, I can't find a word to describe it, but when you see it, you know it. And I think, there's a lot of great indie wrestlers, but they need just that one. And it's not saying they're doing anything wrong or that indie wrestling is bad compared to TV. It's just there's something missing that some of those people on TV have, and they just have it. And it just is what it is.
Couldn't agree more. Rick?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's two things. I think it's the timing thing.
Yeah.
TV wrestlers they're both, I'm not saying they're slower because they're not necessarily slower, but you'll do a move and they know the right amount of time to wait before they do another move.
Right. Whereas, you're not watching somebody like climb the ropes and somebody else is standing there waiting. You know what I mean? Like you're
It's like an indie wrestler will either do that, well, do one move and then they stand around for 2 minutes while one person tries to set something up, or they do 17 straight moves in a row.
It's part of dispelling the belief
you can't digest
that it's not,
them.
You put aside the belief that it's not real and you get into the moment of the story. And sometimes, when you're waiting for somebody to climb up on the turnstiles and you're like, come on, like, and somebody's standing there and they're pretending to be like woozy or something. It's really,
and I know TV
obvious.
can kind of hide that. They can go to a different angle where you can't see the guy just standing there. Like I get that, but like it is a timing thing because and it's also timing the other way. Like an indie wrestler will do, 16 moves and you don't get to notice what they all are because
so moving fast, too fast.
Like, there's a timing in between. There's a pacing and a timing that I think matters.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like uniqueness, if that makes sense. Like an indie wrestler can do the same stuff over and over again because you don't see them that much, right? They
different
come to your
people
town.
See them every night, right?
Yeah. Whereas if you're a TV wrestler, like if Orange Cassidy, if he was doing the exact same match every single night, you'd be like, I saw this 10 times.
Right.
You mean like Cena used to?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
No, I get that. It's you see somebody on TV, they have to stay fresh. They have to do new things. They have to take it at a different angle. Whereas, you go to an indie show.
If you see an indie show, they could have done the same match yesterday and you have no idea.
You didn't know. Yeah, right.
Somewhere else.
Now, do I have to answer my own question? Because I do have an answer.
Okay.
I'm kind of going to follow what Rick said a little bit. Mine is the difference is a TV wrestler knows every nuance of how their character would react to like to the point of like if somebody's injured, they're not going to overreact or underreact depending on their character. They'll just kind of, like if Orange Cassidy's in the ring and someone would break their ankle, like he's going to turn into Orange Cassidy and play to the crowd. He's not going to know. I mean, he's going to know exactly what to do and how Orange Cassidy, the character, would react.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not every indie wrestler wouldn't know how to do that, but I think like the crowd control and the way that their characters would carry themselves in like if you would see whatever Orange Cassidy's real name is, buying a bag of chips at a gas station.
Yeah, what is his real name?
I couldn't tell you.
Name is Orange Cassidy, okay? It just is.
Yeah, like he would be himself. He would just be him. Right. You know what I mean? Like they know it that well. I was waiting for someone to look up his name. Damn it. I'll do it.
Yeah, I was about to, but then I got distracted.
I wanted to add in there talking about their names.
Yes.
I love that the best friends like Chucky and Trent are the only people in wrestling, I feel like, who use their real names with each other. They call each other Dustin and Greg.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's the best. I just think it's
Orange Cassidy's real name is James Kipperly.
Yeah, James.
Kipperly or Kipperly, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that he's 39 always blows my mind.
It is pretty insane.
He seems like he should be in his late 20s.
I don't like when the name doesn't match like what I think it should be. Like
Yeah.
like Kenny
Like
Omega's real
like
name
how Shawn
is
Michaels' name is Michael Hickenbottom.
Michael
Right.
Hickenbottom.
Kenny Omega is Tyson.
Tyson. That's right.
With Tyson Smith, isn't it? No, it's not Smith. What is it? What's his last name?
I can't remember. I know he's Tyson something. It just
He seems like he
doesn't fit.
should just be Kenny Omega.
Right. He's a Kenny.
He's definitely a Kenny.
Yeah, Tyson Smith.
Is that
It's a much more
spelled with a
boring
Y?
name than you would expect him to have.
Is it Smith with a Y?
No,
Or
it's
an
an
I?
I.
Oh, wow. Weird.
But yeah, that makes. I was thinking the best wrestlers do that too. Like the best wrestlers really know how their character would react in every situation.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Like if there's a guy in a match against Danielson and the guy gets hurt versus a guy in a match with Orange Cat, like they will react differently.
Right.
To that situation.
And Rick, I think you said one time like someone got hurt and the ref didn't notice, and Jericho, like in Jericho fashion, like pulled the ref down and like
like
him,
like as
like push
Jericho
the ref,
would,
as Jericho's
like
character would,
like push him out of the corner and then probably told him, hey, he's hurt, man, like chill, and that's just that they could think on their feet probably faster than like a improv actor, seriously, it's nuts. That was mine, so
it's a good one.
Anyone,
I like that.
That's really good.
I never really thought of that, but it's a good one.
Thank you. I'm a nerd. I think about these things.
Who's next?
I'll go next. I'll go next.
Jay's
so
next.
My whole thing was because I know Blasco and I and Biddy are very big into video games. That's really our thing.
Yeah.
So I know AEW released a game and it has bombed, like absolutely bombed. What is it? That, like compared to like the WWE games,
like commercially bombed, definitely.
Commercially bombed, yeah. Like compared to the 2K whatever that they all are. Like, why do you think that is? That it's just has bombed. Like,
go ahead.
I mean, like just comparatively, like why do you think that? I haven't played a 2K game in years, and I don't know. If
I got the last 2K game because at Christmas it was on sale for like $20. So I'm like, sure, I'll buy it. And it was fun. It's fine. Like the biggest problem I have with that game is like the creative wrestler is so good. Like it's unbelievably good. You could make completely accurate, but like it takes 16 hours.
Right. I know. I hate that creative character. Yeah.
So I don't. Right. But
yeah, I remember that everybody was like, yeah, AEW game, and then there was like crickets. I mean, I haven't heard anything about it. People are still obviously playing 2K games, but like. I don't know anybody that actively plays the AEW game.
The AEW game looked cool to me, but it was just like I don't play video games enough to pay full price for it. So like I would buy a game if it was $20. The AEW game was always like $60, and I don't buy full price games because I don't play them enough.
That's the one thing 2K does always like. Hey, after this has been out for a while, we're getting close to another release. You can get this for like $17.
Right.
And it's a huge game, and it's a humongous game too. On top of that,
that's when I buy games because I don't play them often enough to pay full price for them.
Now, from somebody that has over 120 hours into Fight Forever, it's a true story. I played the hell out of it. First off, barely anybody played it, and they just, excuse my language, they just shit all over it because it didn't look as good as 2K.
So you're saying it didn't look as polished as like the 2K product.
Like the characters don't look as good. Like it doesn't look as good.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. That wasn't, they weren't trying to make that game. They just wanted to save as much money as possible and make just a simple, fun game. That being said, they made it too simple. There is nothing there. If like I started on like normal, and then by the time I was, like I said, I played 125 hours. I wouldn't win every match on like whatever I think it's called Elite, but I'd win like 65 to 70% on all Elite difficulty because there's nothing to do. So you just learn like the character.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you said, I think you complained about it at the beginning that like the story mode goes one season and then it's just done. Right? Like there's not more.
Yes. Yeah. So like you play Road to the Elite and then it's like you win the title and that's it. And you don't defend the title. And then if you go back to do it again with the same thing. It's the same scenario. Well, there's like 3 different scenarios that can come about, but it's basically the same thing over and over.
What would you add to it? What would you put in the game to make the experience better or more enjoyable, do you think?
Personally, I think they should have really laid into multiplayer, playing with your friend. The best way to put it is that game is like WrestleMania 2000 for N64.
I was just about to say, how many times did we?
It does seem like it would be really fun to play it with like a bunch of people.
Right.
Yes. And because the computer, like, it literally, you just learn how to counter everything. But if I'm playing, like, no offense, if I'm playing someone who's never played before and they're just button mashing, well, they might pull something off if I'm trying to like finesse something.
Right.
And if they would have leaned into the multiplayer, I think it would have done so much better, because it is super simple. Like, you can pull off like falcon arrows and like split-legged moonsaults literally by tapping a button. Like, there's no super combos to put in.
No combos. I know, like you said, multiplayer, like that was such a huge part, I know, of my childhood. I had friends who had an N64 and they had like the WrestleMania 2000. I think they had an ECW game. Like, they had a couple of them, and you have all 4 controllers plugged into that bad boy, and everybody's mashing buttons and yelling at each other because you're kids. And I mean,
and then like funny stuff happens in the game, and
hours of fun.
Yeah.
I think the problem, like, to me, the problem is that like they also released like all they do like the new seasons, right? Like, there's new characters. Like, isn't the DLC like $20 and it gets you like 3 or 4 characters?
That's such a rip-off. I'm sorry.
Like, that seems like a lot.
Well, see, this is my biggest complaint. I'm glad you brought that up. I bought in on the first season thinking that it was going to pay for, like, I thought that $30 got me like that and all the rest of the DLC.
Like, the season pass was all
like a season pass.
Yeah, because WWE does that sometimes with some of their games. Like, you buy like for $40 or whatever, but then every new update that comes out, you just get it.
Yeah.
So like for the first pack, whoever the first pack was, the Acclaimed maybe, it was FTR and someone else. And then it was like season 2 came out. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get back into AEW. Season 2 came out, and I was like, why didn't mine download? And I go on, I was like, are you serious? It was literally
like another $20 or something.
Yeah. And I was like, and it was
so much money
for 3 things.
That's so much money. From a gaming standpoint, like, that's so much money.
Like,
I get that they're a small company, like it's a small venture and they needed to make money off of it.
Right.
So but like, if they had charged half for all of these things, I think it would have taken off.
That's another thing. That game could have easily been $25.
Yeah. When you look at games today versus how they used to be, you need a lot more content for that $60 or so.
Yeah, right. Like, right now,
granted,
video games are like $90, but you can play them for 6 months straight and keep finding new stuff. And like,
you can buy for like,
and it becomes worth it eventually. You're like, this cost $100, but I've been playing it for a year.
Right. For $100, I've been playing it for a year. Oh, and there's more content coming out that I have access to because I paid $100 up front. Yeah, especially now in today's market with video games, you have to provide that content for that value.
100%.
I did like the idea of like, they're not going to release a yearly version. They're just going to update it every year. Like, I like that idea. I wish they would do that with some of the sports games instead of releasing a new version every year.
Yeah, right.
Do a roster update. But it's just too expensive. Like, I don't play games enough. And from what you're saying is there isn't enough there to justify it being as expensive as it is.
Right. It definitely not. Like, I remember reading somebody said they should have made it like free to play, and then if you bought it, you would have just got all the DLC. Like, the base game with I forget how many wrestlers initially came with it, 25, 35, something like that. Make that just totally free to play, but then if you spent the $60, you would get that and then all the DLC. I think that would have been fair too.
Yeah, that would have made sense.
Or give me a battle pass. Give me, like, if I pull off 100 suplexes, give me a new set of tights or something. Seriously.
Oh,
like,
rewards and achievements. Yeah,
like, give me something.
You have to do a bunch of stuff to unlock something, or or like a new arena or something. Yeah,
right. Anything.
I think they also kind of dropped the ball. I don't know that, but I think they, like, always talking about the WWE creations, like, it's too in depth. But I feel like I've seen some of the AEW creations, and they're basically not, right? Like there's not much there.
Well, they've added to it since, and I haven't played with it, so I can't comment, but it's apparently better. But the old one, which like literally there was like long hair, short hair, bald, goatee, mustache, beard. For women, there was like hair down, hair in a ponytail, hair braided. It was like everything had like 2 or 3 options.
It's like Fallout 3.
Yeah.
Whereas in WWE, it's like, what shape are your eyebrows and what angle are they? The space
how
between your
are
eyes.
Your lips, right? Your space between your eyes. How big are your ears?
And even like they have like, it looks really cool, right? Because you can create your entrance. You can create every aspect of it, right? Like the music and the lighting and where the cameras are. But like it takes so long because you literally have to create every aspect of it. Like, okay, I stand on the stage. What do I do when I get to the stage? Okay, I'm walking down the ramp. How do I walk down the ramp? Do I pause on the ramp? If I do pause, what do I do? Like it's just so much. There has to be like a middle.
Do they have?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do they have like a community builder in it so you could just download? Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, you can
like
download
I've downloaded some of the AEW guys. I think I sent you screenshots. I've
downloaded
Kenny Omega and MJF and they're so good.
Every year there's a new game. People will go and they'll make like Effie and other indie wrestlers.
Oh yeah.
And then they put them in the community for you to go and download.
And they're so good. Like they're all really, really good.
That's awesome.
I saw a screenshot of like a Darby Allin for the new 2K24.
Yeah.
It looks like Darby Allin. Not a really good video game representation of Darby Allin.
Oh, like the actual human.
It looks like actual human Darby Allin.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it probably took you 100 hours to make that.
Yeah. Oh, you'd sit there for a long time.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it. I have never played it, but that's why I didn't play it. It's too basic. It's too much of an investment for me. And if it had been $20, I probably would have tried it.
Well, I was gonna say, that being said, if it goes on sale this Black Friday, you all must buy it so we can all play it.
Yes. I was gonna buy it this year. It was like $45, and then I was like, maybe. And then I just didn't, and then the price went up again.
What system do you have for Xbox?
Xbox.
Yeah, I have it on Xbox.
I got 2K17 on Switch, and I guess, obviously the Switch is, the hardware is not as great as an Xbox or a PlayStation or a PC. So my character, I remember doing the create a character, and every time for the entrance, my character would walk out, her lips were like detached from her face. And like her hat, like I had a hat or something, and it was Paige's hat or something, and it was just so, but like the hair did goofy things. Like you had to be like, that's the way old 2K games were. Like
which was the really bad 2K game where like people fell through the ring and disappeared, and like there was there were a million glitches.
21? I can't remember.
There was one that was so bad that they didn't make one the next year.
Yeah,
it was so bad.
I think it was 20 or 21. I think it was bad.
There was this game me and my buddies used to play. It was called PUBG. If you ever heard of it?
I know PUBG.
Yes.
My character, I made this like, of course, I made a big heavy metal guy with long hair. Well, that game was notoriously like glitchy. We were in a car. My hair fell off, and it glitched into the trunk. And like literally, we could not talk. And we were laughing so hard, like we eventually just got killed because we were like, it was for 10 minutes straight. We were just laughing. I was like, guys, my hair. And everyone's like, what? It was just stuck on the trunk, and it was like waving in the wind. Anyway, I just reminded me of that when you said glitch.
Okay, my question.
Yes.
Okay.
My question is, if you could change one significant thing about AEW, not like I would have this person be the champion, like a thing about how AEW works or how AEW presents itself,
right?
What would you change?
That's a good one. I'm thinking. This is a good question.
Part of the podcast.
Yeah, it's a great question. Should have submitted this before. It gave me like 6.5 hours to think about it.
Right.
I'll edit it down and make it seem like you had a great answer right away.
Sick. All right, I'll go. I thought of one.
Okay.
And this is all just, this has nothing to do with recent events. I would avoid signing CM Punk. As cool as that was, I think that was the first fall of that was the first time they got off track. Like they were trying to do. I mean, Punk did bring in cool things. I still dig the live interviews before Collision. I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen on TV, especially wrestling. That was awesome. But they just fell off the, like, no offense to people that take it that way, but the Japanese style of wrestling. AEW's an American company, but it's not the style they use. It's like a super indie fed. So yeah, I would avoid signing Punk. I know that's like bonkers to say, but
I agree with you, but only in retrospect. Because
at
the time, it seemed like the most perfect signing of all time.
100%. It was the coolest thing. That's what I said. Like all things
it wasn't
aside,
just the coolest thing. It seemed like it made so much sense. Like at the time, you were like, "There's this new company that's everything WWE wasn't, and this is the guy who walked out on WWE because he's everything WWE isn't." And it seemed like it made perfect sense. It made absolutely no sense in retrospect, but at the time, it's hard to say. But a lot of things did change when they signed him. But in retrospect only.
Yeah, 100% in retrospect. Like, I might, and I'm not going to, but I was going to say 3 years from now, I might be saying, well, Okada was a mistake too. Probably not, but
yeah,
right.
No, if he fights Jack Perry, and Jack Perry's a problem. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I guess kind of the problem is not just signing him, but and you have really no choice because he was so huge.
Right.
But giving him all of the power that they gave him. And I get it because he was huge. Like, I get why they did. Like, when we were joking around earlier, like, why does Mercedes get a title shot? And you're like, oh, because she's Mercedes. Like, that's in storyline. But, like, if she came into the company and said, I want a title shot right away, like, you have to say yes, right? Because she's such a big deal. And I feel like
she's your draw, right?
Yeah,
she's your
he
draw.
was kind of the same thing. If he says, I don't want tunnels anymore, and he's half your audience, then yeah, you kind of have to, right? Like, I get it, but it was a bad idea in retrospect.
Yeah, and that's all in retrospect. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I never once, even until the second he was fired, I never once thought it was a bad idea.
No, and the stuff he did with, like, in storyline, like TV on screen stuff he did with, like, MJF, that was still one of the best storylines I've ever seen. I mean, I think it was worth it. I think it caused a ton of chaos and it caused a ton of problems and it caused them to lose track for like a year at least. But it was just that first year was so cool that I feel like it's worth it.
And in the grand scheme of things, it is going to be like, oh, CM Punk was there for 4 seconds. But
yeah,
the fact that the company is young and, he was there for like 2.5 out of the 6 years it existed now. Like, he was there a long time in the small scheme of things.
Yeah. I feel like that's a chance you have to take though, just because it was a high risk, high reward scenario.
Yeah. But that would be mine. That's all.
Jay?
Well,
it doesn't have to be a what would you change in the past. It could be what would you change going forward. It could be any change.
Right. Well, I just want to say that I don't want to talk about Phil because I don't want people to think I actually care about him. Hey. I think for me, I know we've talked about it before, and it's just how they treat a lot of like the women's time versus how often we see the men on TV, especially when, like they want to be so very forward, like, and maybe it will be better now with Mercedes there. I know we've talked about it in the past, just getting more time for the women instead of these short segments, these short matches, get some more build up and get some more story. There's a ton of women on that roster. Get them out there, do more with them. You can have more between match segments. You can have, things like that. It's a shame. It's just how wrestling is. It's always been, and I'd like to see more of, that going forward, getting more women, more time, things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Definitely.
I'd even go as far. I know, like, it leaked 2 or 3 months ago. Tony Khan bought the rights to All Elite Women. I really hope he takes a page out of Ring of Honor's book. Like, back in the day, Ring of Honor would do Women of Honor, and it would just be an all woman show randomly. Like, it wouldn't be like, oh, it's time for the women to have a show. It would just be you went to a Ring of Honor show and it would just be a Women of Honor show.
Yeah.
I would love if they would do that and you would just tune into a Collision and it would be Collision. Well, it rhymes. Collision All Elite Women. Damn it. I didn't want to make a bad joke. I apologize. But you can have All Elite Women Dynamite.
All Elite Women Collision.
All Elite Women Collision.
And I mean, WWE did that pay-per-view and it was awesome. It was great. And everybody said when it was all said and done, they're just doing it to do it. We'll never have another one. And they never have since. And AEW could really do something with that. They could go forward and they could have every couple months have like an all-women pay-per-view.
But could they, because Stephanie McMahon invented women's wrestling?
Oh my God. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Can you steal her creation like that?
Oh.
I did forget. She might own the rights to that.
She owns the rights to all women's wrestling.
She created women.
That is true too.
We're sounding an awful lot like the Discord here. We need to slow down.
We've been saying that for a while, and I
feel like they could definitely do something more with that. Just roll with that. Do more shows, more maybe a pay-per-view once in a while. Do something more because WWE loves to claim they did the first with women. We had the first Women's Royal Rumble. We had Evolution, and Evolution was awesome. I mean, it was kick ass. It was so good, but like they didn't do anything with it. They had this momentum, and they just kill it. And I feel like AEW could take that and they could take a page from that book and just go with it and go forward and really do something cool.
I'll be really disappointed if they don't do a women's C2.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to.
That would be so good.
Yeah. They almost have to. It's Tony's been asked about it in the media scrums and it has to happen.
I feel like it'd be very disappointing if they didn't do it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And like I think you said it too. It'd be cool if it offset the male version.
Yeah, like not at the same time. Like have it be a month before or a month after or something. Yeah, so they're not simultaneous.
Right. I think they could do something really cool with that. Just saying, because WWE did everything for the sake of saying they did it. It was for press, it was for publicity,
100%.
And then it was nothing they fully believed in and committed to. It was just marketing. It was just straight up marketing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
100%.
Does anybody have anything else on the
Well, I didn't answer my own question.
Oh, I apologize. Go ahead, sir.
I have two things.
Okay.
One I've talked about before, so I'm not going to go into it hugely in depth. I don't think, and this might be controversial to especially people who really like Japanese wrestling. I don't think every match needs to be 15 minutes long. I think they could easily have some of them be 7 or 5 even.
Yeah.
Or like
totally.
They don't need to have every single, like, especially when it's a match like we were talking about this for Dynamite, like I don't know how long it was, the Billy Gunn
the Jay White
match.
Yeah.
It could be 5 minutes and it's fine.
Right.
Like it doesn't have, you can actually have a good, I'm not saying every match should be 5 minutes, but you can have a good 5-minute match.
Yeah.
Or
like
7-minute match.
The Jay White Billy Gunn match, it had the freaking commercial break in it. Totally unneeded.
Yeah. And especially when it's a match where you know that what's going to happen. Like you kind of knew that match was going to end up with the Acclaimed and Bullet Club coming out.
Oh, right. I mean, they said they weren't going to though. I mean, I totally believed them.
When someone in wrestling says something, you know that it's going to happen.
I mean, I was like, this is going to go right down the middle. They're going to mind their business backstage.
But when I'm like when there's a match, like I'm just gonna pick people randomly, and this is not insulting either of them. When it's like Bryan Danielson versus Chuck Taylor, right? Like with a good feeling that Bryan Danielson's first of all going to win that match, or it's going to end up with like a BCC best friends kind of thing at the end, right?
100%.
That match could be 7 minutes and get to the same point.
Right.
I think yeah, and to delve in on that, a lot of that depends on what story, a lot of it's storytelling, and it depends on what they're trying to do. Some things build up and you have like a long match and it's you've got all these falls and things and all these 2 count, and it's really cool, but you have to build to that point. You can't just throw 2 people out there and like be like, go at it for 15 minutes and then it's like what's the point of this? You have to build up to that. Certain things don't need that every match.
And especially because they want to present it as a sport. Like if you had an actual wrestling match, some of them are going to be short. Like it's just going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, like Rick, we've talked about it before. Like UFC fights, you might have a main event that's literally 10 seconds long, and that's never gonna like.
And I'm not saying
he wasn't knocked out.
I'm not saying they should do that,
right?
And I'm not saying I don't like long matches, because like my favorite match from last year was that MJF Danielson Iron Man. That was an hour, and it was great. So like I'm not saying I don't want long matches. I'm just saying they don't all have to be long matches.
I totally agree. Because that's instead of one 15-minute segment, you can get 2 people out for 7.
And then you have more room for someone who's not on TV that much, or you have more room for another women's match, or you have more room for an angle or something. Whereas like when I'll watch Dynamite or Collision delayed, there are matches where I'm like, I'm 99% sure what's going to happen here. I'm going to skip to it.
100%. Because that makes sense.
It's going to be 15 minutes. I'll skip forward 10 minutes and I'll watch the last 5 minutes and I'll get the point of what you were trying to do.
That's what I do during every Iron Savages match on Ring of Honor.
And then
on
that same point, I think they have to make it so not unpredictable, because that's not what I'm trying to say. I was trying to figure out how to put this earlier when I was thinking of this. It's not that it needs to be more unpredictable, because predictability isn't necessarily bad. When you have some matches where like you know who's going to win, but it makes perfect sense for that person to win, don't like swerve you just for the sake of swerving you. Like, it's not unpredictability, and it's not like I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, there's no storylines, they just have matches randomly. Like, that's not true. They have storylines, and they don't just have matches randomly. Like, when they do, there's a reason for most of the time, right? But I want them to give me, and I can't think of how to phrase this properly. Maybe one of you could help. I want them to give me a reason to, like, I need to watch Dynamite live when it happens, because I don't want to miss this thing, or I don't want this thing spoiled for me.
They want to give you want to get FOMO from it. Like you get FOMO. You want to be tuned in because you don't want to miss it, because you don't want it spoiled. It's FOMO. Right. You were looking for FOMO. Yeah.
Whereas like last week, I think it was, they had Takeshita and Swerve in the main event. Great match. I love the match. It was a great match. But like, Swerve's winning because he's going to face Joe for the title, and they're not going to have Takeshita win that match. So like, I can watch that match later, because even if it's spoiled for me, like I thought Swerve was going to win anyway, so it doesn't matter but like if it was something, if Samoa Joe did something at the end of that match, came out and attacked him, and there was something, then I'm like, oh man, now that got wrecked. And the next time I have to watch live because something cool is going to happen, and I don't want it to be spoiled.
Right.
And I don't know how to do it. I'm not a booker, but I kind of want that feeling.
I found myself doing that with some of the indie shows I've gone to, like, because they get people from their Sonny Kiss and Lee Moriarty were both at the last Enjoy show, and I'm like, well, it has to be this person that's gonna win this, right, for the title, because Lee's really big in AEW. Like, why would it be Lee? Like, he doesn't have time for small time. So I found myself doing that when they have like people come from other promotions, and I'm like, no, that's not, they're not going to win it, and it kind of ruins that. And but it's fun because it's always a good match. But I found myself doing that with that too, because I'm like, well, they can't win. It's not going to work out that way. It just, unfortunately, is one of the things with wrestling.
Like, the matches are good, and I'm not saying I don't like the matches.
It's absolutely
right.
Sometimes I want a reason to be like, oh, if I don't watch Dynamite live, something's going to get spoiled for me, and it's going to ruin that like, as much as I bashed the Young Bucks, like when they had when Sting and Darby won the tag titles and the Young Bucks came out and attacked them, that was really cool. And if I had that spoiled for me before I watched the show, it would have been slightly less cool. So I want stuff where like, oh man, I have to see it live, because otherwise it's going to get wrecked.
Yeah. Now, again, I'm not.
And you only have to do it once in a while. You only have to have once in a while where like something crazy happens to be like, oh, okay, now I have to watch.
That's what I literally was just going to say. I'm not splitting hairs here, but can it be done too much?
It definitely can be.
Yeah, okay.
Because then you end up in like
argument.
Then you end up in like late 90s wrestling, where like every week there's a new champion, and Jay Leno wins a belt. And
and here comes Stone Cold for the 300th time.
Yeah. Then it ends up too much. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to do that in modern times, because there's just so much going on. And I get that you can't like every week have a surprise, but I don't know. That's all. I kind of miss that feeling of like, oh, I have to watch it live because I don't want it to get wrecked for me. Whereas like Collision, I watched, like, it got wrecked. Like the TNT title match did get spoiled, and I wish it hadn't been. But generally, that doesn't happen.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Generally, you can watch it a week later, and it doesn't matter because you didn't. If anything was spoiled, it's like, oh, you mean, Orange Cassidy didn't lose to this indie talent? Like, obviously, he didn't.
Hey, it's gonna happen sometime. Law of averages.
Yeah, it was actually cool that time when Action Andretti beat Jericho, because that was just like, oh, I didn't expect that. That's cool.
And I called that, just saying.
You did. You did.
Just saying.
So if the matches aren't unpredictable, I want like something to happen outside of the match. Like after Swerve beat Takeshita, if Samoa Joe would have come out and they had some like cool angle afterwards, that would have been like, I don't know. I feel like I'm being nitpicking, but.
And that's the whole point of the question, though. So you were allowed to be nitpicking.
There you go.
Okay, now on that note, does anybody have anything else?
I don't think so.
Sick.
I think it's my bedtime.
It is definitely my bedtime too. So everybody, on that note, make sure to like, subscribe, share, help us out a little bit. Views have been going up every week. We have new subs. Everybody, welcome. If you're new here, it's been fun. At Elite City Pod everywhere. We're everywhere pretty much except X.
Well, we're still there. We just don't do anything.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know we had an account. There you go.
It's still there. It just
still there, but
hasn't posted in a long time.
Okay. So yeah, at Elite City Pod. Well, until next week. Later.